Welcome in, everybody. American Leeds YouTube channel. Hope everybody is doing well. Just wanted to do a quick video about the ownership of Leeds United. I have a ring light over to my left. First time I'm trying the ring light setting. Been told that my lighting isn't that great. This is a new addition. It's a Leeds United flag. Eventually I'll have it hopefully displayed. Anyways, let's kick it off. Let's dig in because I want this to be a quick video. Radrizzani. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. I hope we're seeing the back of him soon. Has agreed to terms with Sampdoria, and we are almost out. We are almost out of his reign, which I think is a good thing, and it's time that he sell the club. So the important thing here is, to me, the following statement that was in the article. The hope that Leeds will be that Radrizzani striking the deal for Sampdoria breaks the impasse with the 49ers and allows a takeover at Ellen Road to happen. One way or another, it should allow for some clarity about whether Radrizzani actually intends to, because there is nothing in tonight's statement, the statement that he took over Sampdoria and the bid's been accepted. There's nothing in tonight's statement about his ownership of Leeds, that he has said nothing about it since relegation. But 49ers Enterprises will be looking for a successful conclusion to talks now. So Phil basically says, to translate that the 49ers are going to be looking to take over the club, which we thought was a possibility, but this kind of confirms that for me, that the 49ers are going to make a continued push to take over majority control of Leeds United, which is massive. The question is whether Radrizzani complies at least with the 49ers' wishes to take over. Fingers crossed. I don't trust this man. I do not trust Radrizzani to sell the club. But I just think that there's a positive effort here, a push-wise, that will happen in the next few weeks. Maybe it'll happen sooner rather than later for this to happen. So he did not need to sell. It looks like he does not need to sell Leeds United in order to buy Sampdoria. I've heard conflicting reports that that's not true, that he does need to now sell the club. But based on things that I'm seeing, at least the paperwork that's gone through, it looks like he does not need to sell it. And the report that leaked, and this could be Radrizzani playing games with the 49ers, that it would be a consortium like the likes of Watford and Udinese, tells me either that he's playing mind games or trying to negotiate stuff or leak false information, or that he's serious about this and he is just decided to leak that to where would an Italian news outlet get that idea? Well, I'll tell you where. This guy, Leeds United, had more leaks than the Titanic. It's incredible. And I'm just so ready for this takeover, because things will be run so much differently. I will tell you that this is a professional organization. The 49ers are a top-class organization in the NFL. They run things tight, and I just put out a tweet. The 49ers do not have to. People have been saying, well, where are the 49ers? What's going on? Why aren't they issuing any statements? Why haven't they been doing anything? They're culpable too for last year. Well, okay, I kind of agree with that. If you want to do kind of guilty by association, absolutely. You can do that. However, they don't have majority control of Leeds. They still have to rely on the person that ultimately makes the decision, which is Radrizzani. It's almost like they're counselors to him. And they have maybe a bigger say because of the possible takeover. But Radrizzani was calling the shots. Victor Orta was calling the shots on the football side. And to kind of judge the 49ers takeover or the 49ers before they even really get here, I think is doing them, not doing the club not doing the new ownership, the possible new ownership, a good, favor. I just give them some time, give them some time, fully controlling the club to make judgments on them. Look, here's something else that I will show you. Just the levels. We're going from a guy who he's a millionaire, but I don't think he really knew what he's doing, to a professionally run organization, an organization that understands how to run sports. So let me show you this screen here, and we'll compare it to some of the world's best football clubs, traditional, proper football clubs. Evaluation of the San Francisco 49ers. We are at $5.1 billion club. $5.1 million club. $5.1 billion club. Okay. That ranks, bear with me as according to Forbes, and let's do apples to apples. We are at number 1 is the Cowboys, number 2 is the Patriots, number 3 is the Rams, 4 is the Giants, 5 is the Bears, 6 is Commanders, 7 Jets, 8 out of 30 or 32, I believe, teams in the NFL. They rank 8th just in terms of club evaluation. Club evaluation in the States, not in terms of, you can also rank these things by, I don't know, other sides of the club and jersey sales and income, and you can do it by net worth of the owners. These are all different calculations. I'm sure we could go into Forbes and they would show us the statistics about what went into the data of the rankings. This is just pure, what is the club's value? Let's look at that compared to, bear with me. World football rankings, world soccer rankings in America. That's how it was called. That's how I had to Google it. If I Google world football rankings, it gives me the NFL. Anyways, Real Madrid is the highest evaluated club in the world, and they come in at $5.1 billion. You're saying probably, well, Alex, you probably question this, right? Either way, even if let's say Real Madrid's worth more. Let's say the data is wrong. It's not that far off. In other words, I think probably unquestionably, you could probably say Real Madrid is the richest club in terms of their value and maybe ownership, as well as Barcelona, Scum, Liverpool, City, etc. Okay, so that's relatively correct, right? World rankings of probably club value. I just think we're going to a different level. Does that make any sense? I don't think if the 49ers eventually do take over, I think we're going to a different level. And I really want people to kind of get prepared for that. I know there'll be financial fair play in the EFL, and we're going to be an EFL squad until we get promotion, and money doesn't make everything happen. But just in terms of the Mickey Mouse behavior that Radrizzani's exhibited over the past couple of years, where he's been paying attention to who's adding him on Twitter and who's DMing him questions and what, social media is saying about him. The York family does not do that. Who owns the San Francisco 49ers? And let me see if I can pull up their social media presence. And so they don't really have to say anything. I've seen a lot of people say, well, where are the 49ers? Why aren't they saying anything? What's going on? And why? And P.S., they are culpable for the season. I guess you can kind of say that, make that argument. Yes, they were Parag was part of the board. The York family is aware of what's going on. The consortium behind the ownership group behind the 49ers is massive. Their Rolodex is deeper. The money is bigger. And I just think I'm glad that this is that they're hopefully trying to push this going forward, and they're sticking with the club. Not that they're kind of intertwined in terms of financially, that 44%, it's hard to offload that. There's not a lot of billionaires or millionaires that can take those shares away from them. But at the same time, I think they've at least appreciated and identified an asset that I think they value and they want to win with. So let's look at, Ted York's social media presence and just see how the man presents himself, right? You can't judge everything about social media, but it is, how someone presents themselves. That's not it. Jed York. My apologies. Long day. Approaching 10:13 on the East Coast. Okay. The 49ers just booked in their stadium the Super Bowl. This incredible amount of money coming into the city of San Francisco because of that Super Bowl. I mean, that's a revenue generating. When a club is tied to a city, they understand that the tourism and the amount of money that's spent economically, it's an economic development asset as well to the city. And so they're using their stadium to provide the Super Bowl. I think that's massive. A lot of stuff with the city in terms of building up their, community. So Civic Joy Fund to launch 5 programs for San Francisco economic recovery. I don't hear stories about that happening with Radrizzani. Okay. Again, more civic engagement. This is the general manager of the 49ers. John Lynch, who was a Hall of Fame player for them, and I believe as well as the Denver Broncos, maybe another club, but stud guy, all world player. there he is. He's handing the phone to the coach, and basically what they're doing is they're talking to a young player, a drafted player, saying that you're in the club. Welcome to the club. Obviously, there's just different cultural differences, but that's how American sports are built. They're typically built through the draft program. But could you imagine? I mean, that's just different. Could you imagine, someone from Leeds United calling a young football player and saying, "Hey, you're part of the organization now." Tears, the family would be in tears, lifelong dream coming true. That's basically what's happening. And their, head coach, which was the other person on the phone, and this person's probably either an assistant coach or whatever. But again, just levels. Just levels. A lot of this stuff is about the draft and welcoming players into the organization. I wanted to see John Lynch because that might give you a glimpse into how John Lynch operates as the general manager. See if I can pull his. I think I saw him. Because again, the Yorks and a lot of the ownerships behind Leeds United will be silent. They will only speak if necessary. That's the difference between Radrizzani and the Yorks and the different types of owners that they are. You don't need to say anything. You only need to speak in very rare circumstances if you're the owner of a club. And I know people don't maybe like that. They want to hear from organizations, but the reality and the fact of the matter is if you have people behind you like a John Lynch, who's a general manager or a director of football, or an Angus Kinnear type, I don't know, he's the CEO. If you have those people underneath you, they're doing all the talking. You don't need to talk as an owner. You don't need to talk about players. You don't need to talk about incomings, outgoings. You don't need to promise the world. You don't need to sit down with the Athletic and do a hour-long conversation with the beat writer and the English football writer, a la Phil Hay and forgot the other guy's name. But that's what Radrizzani did in August or July. Sat down and talked about, hey, this is what happened, and it's impossible to get into a relegation battle now. All this stuff. You don't need to talk. I mean, just do. There he is. That's him, his head coach. They've gone to 2 Super Bowls, or 2. They've had basically 2 title runs in 4 years. They're a top-level organization, $5.1 billion organization, and they're just run class. And he understands, John Lynch, who would be maybe kind of similar to the director of football, that he doesn't necessarily just represent the organization, but everything that he does, he is bleeding, branding 49er football, American football, into the community, into the global, game across America, etc. Talks about the history of the organization. Again, this is a guy that he didn't play his whole career for the 49ers, might not even played that very long for the 49ers, but he is representing them in every aspect. And so there's no videos of him breaking down in the middle of organizations, hushing the crowd. he, steady hand. So, anyways, I just wanted to say that basically because I wanted to hop on here and try to do more daily content. But, in summary, the 49ers are silent because they don't have anything to say yet. The deal hasn't been going through. I think that they might have a little blame for what happened in the Premier League, and I think that they should take ownership of that, of going down, and hopefully that will happen soon. And if the takeover does happen, which I think we're, days, if not at least a week away from an official press release and, the glossy photos, that be excited if that does happen. And to me, it's almost as big as a trophy for me. It's almost as big as this ownership coming through, and maybe I'm buying into the hype because I'm American and I understand how big of a brand it is over here and how much money the 49ers have. But to dream, to get a little bit excited, to see some silver lining in what was a terrible season, and to get excited and to hopefully have this, Christmas present, early Christmas present, Christmas in summer, come through. So that's it. That's it for me. Just compare and contrast, do some research, and hopefully this deal goes through. Marching on together, leads, like, comment, subscribe, etc. Night all.